Hey guys, welcome back, or welcome if you are new. I hope you are having a fantastic day. In today's video, I want to share some fall transitional home fragrance suggestions. For those of you that are not quite yet ready to dig into the heavier, maybe slightly spicier pumpkins, the smoky scents, the maybe more woody types of fall fragrances that are typically popular in the fall. I think there are a lot of people out there who kind of struggle with that initial transition from the lighter, airier, fruitier summer fragrances into that like typical kind of fall pumpkin spice extravaganza that seems to be the norm for a lot of fall home fragrance, right? So in today's video, I came up with 4 different fragrance categories that I really enjoy as fall transitional fragrances. And within each of those 4 categories, I have 4 suggestions from the companies that I tend to shop with the most, that are, I think, perfect options to help you kind of ease into those heavier, maybe spicier, more oppressive types of fall fragrances in a more gentle way, if you will. So these will kind of start to get you into the mood for those heavier fragrances, but these are much lighter options. They are, I think, really great fragrances that have a lot of impact to them. Like, they're really enjoyable scents, and they just kind of help with that initial transition from, like I said, the lighter, airier summer fragrances before you get into like pumpkin spice extravaganza everything. So I did not bring in samples of all of these candles. I just went ahead and wrote them down on my little sheet of paper here. So I don't have any props for you today, but we're just gonna chit chat about these, and I'm gonna give you my suggestions. I would love to know what you would suggest as a really great fall transitional type of fragrance for someone who is just kind of trying to figure out a smoother transition from the summer into the fall. So that's what today's video is all about. I have personally burned or melted all of these fragrances that I'm suggesting, so I'm very familiar with them, and I think all of them would be great options. So, but I cannot wait to hear what you guys would suggest as well. So be sure to leave your suggestions in the comments down below. In the description box, if I have time before the video goes up, I'll try to put links to all of these candles. But if not, I honestly bet that most of you, especially those of you that are really into the home fragrance world, you probably have a lot of these in your collection already. So I would say start digging through that collection and start getting some of those fragrances out now, because while we are still in the beginning of September, and obviously fall is not for another couple of weeks, I am aware of how the calendar works and seasons and whatnot. I tend to start my transition pretty early, so I've been enjoying fall fragrances since like the middle of August. But those of you that like to wait until about September for that initial transition, now would be the time to maybe think about some of these fragrances. And like I said, I feel like most of you probably already have some of these in your collection, so you probably don't even need to purchase anything. But I think these are really going to help you kind of ease into the fall initially without feeling like you are just being slammed into a pumpkin spice extravaganza. So let's go ahead and dig into my suggestions for some really amazing fall transitional home fragrance. So let's get into it. So I have 4 different categories here, and the different categories are apple fragrances, coffee fragrances, cranberry fragrances, and vanilla fragrances. So those are the 4 different categories, and with each of those categories, I'm going to give you 4 different suggestions. So let's start out with the apple fragrances. Okay, apple I think is probably the easiest transitional fragrance. I love apple, especially during the month of September. So my first suggestion is actually a Yankee Candle that I just reviewed, and it is the Yankee Candle Apple Pumpkin. I love this one. I think it is the perfect juicy sweet apple with the perfect amount of like those fall mulled spices. It is a very enjoyable fragrance. It is not overly aggressive. I don't think it's overly spicy. The focus is really on that juicy, delicious, edible apple note with the Yankee Apple Pumpkin. It really is a classic. It's also a very nostalgic fragrance. So if you are looking for something that maybe reminds you of your youth, maybe you're in your 40s or 50s and you remember the home fragrance of the 90s very well, I feel like Yankee's Apple Pumpkin is a great representation of just home fragrance during the fall in the 1990s. It is really a beautiful nostalgic fragrance, incredibly well done. I have now burned several of the new formulation when it comes to Yankee Candle, and personally I've had a really good experience. There was one candle where the wick studded out on me, but other than that, I feel like the strength and the throw, at least for the 2-wick tumblers, has been really good. And then for me, it's the overall burn quality when it comes to Yankee. It is so much cleaner now. It's just really kind of a joy to burn Yankees again. So if you are at your local Yankee this weekend, maybe if you're lucky enough to still have a store in your area, pop in, stick your nose in that one, and I'm telling you, just try it. It's really, really good. This is not a new fragrance from Yankee. It's been around forever. So if you've never tried it, this is one that I think is absolutely worth seeking out. Now, the reverse of Yankee Apple Pumpkin is Bath & Body Works Pumpkin Apple. Now, I feel like Pumpkin Apple from Bath & Body Works is a little bit sweeter. It's an even juicier apple scent. It does have those, you know, like typical fall spices of the cinnamon, the little bit of clove, a little bit of nutmeg. Really a great fragrance. Definitely in the same family as the previous fragrance that I mentioned, but a little bit different. I think it's kind of fun to be able to try both. And honestly, I have burned both together now, and they are really great paired together. So whether you choose the Yankee version of the Apple Pumpkin or the Bath & Body Works version of the Pumpkin Apple, both fragrances I think are really great. They are definitely slightly different from each other, but also pretty similar at the same time. For me, I love them both. I don't think that the Pumpkin Apple from Bath & Body Works is quite as nostalgic for me as the Yankee one is, but still an amazing fragrance that I purchased multiples of to be able to have over the course of September and even into October and November. So those are a couple of apple suggestions. I have 2 more. Now this next one is a little bit of a heartbreak because it is from Kringle Country Candle, the only format that it is still available in on the Kringle website, and also good timing here because the wax melts are $2, at least for this particular fragrance right now. The apple cider cake. This was one of those Kringle candles that I don't think ever really got enough love from everybody, and it kind of broke my heart because I love this fragrance. So this is a mix of Macintosh, pear, cinnamon, vanilla. You've got some mulled cider in there as well. It is delicious. It's definitely a little bit of a spicier apple fragrance than the previous 2 that I mentioned, but it is amazing. And for $2, honestly, I probably should place an order myself and grab just like 15 or 20 of them. This is one of those fragrances that I hope Kringle is planning on moving from the Country Candle line into the like Kringle classic jars that they have. So yeah, I've got my fingers crossed for that, but I feel like I never really heard a lot of people give this particular scent a lot of love, but I think it's amazing. If you haven't tried it, like I said, it's just available in the wax melts at this point. So if you want to, you can get the wax melts for like $2 a pop right now. So I think I might have to partake in that myself. Also, I think neighbor Mike is, speaking of fall, he's got his leaf blower out. The leaves have not started to fall yet, but he loves blowing things in his yard. So we're gonna try and work through this. Bear with me. Hopefully I don't get too distracted. Okay, I also have a suggestion from Scentsy as well. The Scentsy Caramel Apple Craze, or Caramel Apple Craze, however you wanna say it. So this is a mix of red delicious apple, vanilla, and then caramel. But this is caramel done right. Trust me, I'm one of those people where caramel is just, it's a tough one for me. It can come off as really cloying, and I do not like that. I hate a cloying, overly sweet caramel or maple type of note. I'm really sensitive to it, but in here, it just smells so good, you guys. It smells like a legit caramel apple. I love them. They're one of my husband's favorite treats. Whenever we go to the fair or anywhere where caramel apples are sold, that man will buy like 2 and he will just mow them down. I usually get a couple bites, but those are definitely his thing. So this particular fragrance is one that I like to have around for my husband especially. So if you haven't tried it, get a hold of your Scentsy consultant and ask them to, maybe if they live by you, give you a sample or something like that. But this is one of those Scentsy apple scents that I think is really worth checking out. All right, next category. We have, what is he blowing? Thank you. The next category are cranberry fragrances. Now, I could have definitely gone with pear. I'm a little picky with pear though. A lot of times pear smells kind of like stinky body odor to my nose, so I don't have a lot of pear suggestions for you if that's what you're looking for. I could have also gone with plums. There's a lot of really great plum fragrances out there, but cranberry for me is a true fall staple. And honestly, I start cranberry in the very early fall and I enjoy it all the way through Christmas. So I'm gonna be burning cranberry candles basically until the end of the year at this point. So once again, I have 4 suggestions for you here. And the first suggestion is not going to be a surprise if you've been here on my channel for any amount of time. It is Yankee Candle Cranberry Chutney. This is my first cranberry love. I fell in love with cranberry chutney back in 1997, and my love for it has never died out. I absolutely adore this fragrance. I think the reason that I do love it as much as I do is it reminds me a lot of the cranberry chutney that my mom makes at Thanksgiving. It smells exactly like her cranberry chutney, and it is so incredibly delicious. I cannot get enough of it, and I was so happy to pop into a Yankee Candle store a few weeks ago and to pick up a couple of cranberry chutneys to be able to enjoy. In fact, I'll probably have to pop back in before the holidays even roll around so that I can get maybe 2 or 3 more to get me through the end of the year. But that is how much I love this particular cranberry fragrance. It's amazing. I don't think that I've smelled anything better. It has a little bit of citrus to it. It's got a good amount of sweetness, but it's not cloying, and the cranberry is so juicy. It's perfectly tart, perfectly sweet. It's so good. All right, the next one will probably also not be a surprise, but Homeworks Harvest Leaves. So this is actually a mix of mandarin, pumpkin, and cranberry. So you've got a few different things going on here, but for me, it's the cranberry that really shines. I have always thought of Harvest Leaves as a really sophisticated, elevated, like beautiful, more fancy lady type of fall home fragrance option. I fell in love with Harvest Leaves the first year that Harry released it when he came onto QVC initially with Homeworks. And ever since then, I have loved this fragrance. I mean, I would be absolutely devastated if this fragrance was ever retired or if Homeworks went away and I would not be able to get my hands on this one, because I don't think that I have personally ever smelled anything quite like Harvest Leaves. If you have, please let me know, because I would be happy to test that out myself and see if maybe I can have an alternative. But as of right now, I haven't been able to find anything that mimics Harvest Leaves, and I think it is just chef's kiss perfection. It's one of those fragrances that I don't ever want to be without, and I enjoy Harvest Leaves throughout Christmas as well. So it's one that I start middle of August and then it goes through the end of the year. I love me some cranberry scents, obviously. Now, this next cranberry suggestion is admittedly a little bit heavier than some of the other options that I have suggested here, at least in terms of the spice component. It's Bath & Body Works Cranberry Woods. I have loved Cranberry Woods for many, many years. And in fact, it's another cranberry that I start in the early fall and I take all the way through Christmas. It is amazing. It does have a heavier cinnamon bark component, but it's such a beautiful, deep, slightly darker cranberry scent. So this is a mix of cranberry, cedar, amber. You've got that cinnamon bark in there. It is beautiful. I think it's an exceptional fragrance, especially on a cooler, rainier fall evening. It's just such a beautiful scent, and I feel like Bath & Body Works used to have Cranberry Woods around from the early fall through the holidays, but last year during the holidays, I was not able to get my hands on more Cranberry Woods when I ran out. So I made sure to cover my bases for that this year, because again, this is another one of those cranberries that goes through the end of the year at this point. It is heavier, it is spicier, but the good thing is it's from Bath & Body Works, so you can pop into your local store and see if it is maybe a little bit too spicy for you. But if you've never considered it, I think it's worth grabbing as a transitional fragrance. Worst case scenario is it's a little bit too much right now. Hold on to it until October. It's gonna make total sense in October. But for me, it's also a transitional fragrance. All right, the last cranberry suggestion here is from Scentsy, and it's their Winterberry Apple Tea. So this is actually a mix of cranberry, apple, and honey. It is really good. It's really good. I have always kind of thought of this as my fall alternative to the sweet plum pastry, which is not currently available from Scentsy, but if you've been here for a while, you know I was in love, obsessed with that particular Scentsy scent for many years. Huge regret taking it out of my club. But for me, Winterberry Apple Tea was like the fall holiday version of the sweet plum pastry that I would enjoy during the spring and summer. So that really amazing, delicious cranberry note, that juicy, slightly spicy apple, and then the honey. The sweetness from this one really does come from honey. It is just very warm, cozy, and inviting. And again, another one that you can start early fall and take through the holidays. It's fantastic. I love it. I would definitely suggest trying it if you've never tried it. And it's always been a really good performer for me. That is one of the most, I would say, potent or strong bars that I have tried from Scentsy. There's a few scents that I think Scentsy does exceptionally well in terms of strength. And for me, the Winterberry Apple Tea it's definitely in that category. So if you're looking for a lot of oomph from a wax melt, Winterberry Apple Tea is gonna give you the oomph. Now, let's move on to the very last category, which I think is probably the most neutral category, and where I think most people would probably find something if you thought that the last three categories were still maybe a little too a little too fall, like later fall for you. So let's get into that vanilla category now. Now, if the last three categories were maybe still a little too fall forward for you, you might find something here in the vanillas. I think there is no better transitional fragrance than vanilla. So it was really hard for me to actually narrow this particular category down to just 4 suggestions, because I could have probably given you 100 suggestions for some really great vanillas to check out. But I narrowed it down to these 4 because these are, I guess you could say, staples in my fall transitional routine. And they are also vanillas that, once again, just kind of stick around for the remainder of the year. So let's go ahead and dig in. The very first suggestion is Homeworks Cinnamon Vanilla. Now, before I first tried this fragrance, I assumed that it would be a heavier cinnamon type of fragrance and that vanilla would just kind of be in the background. And so I avoided it for a good long while. Then my friend Fiona actually gifted me a cinnamon vanilla, and she was like, I think you might like this. I lit it up that day that I brought it home, and I fell in love, to the point where I then purchased the luxe size on QVC. I don't know if the luxe size is still available, but I actually need to bust the second half of mine out because I wasn't able to finish it last fall because it was so freaking big. I love this particular cinnamon vanilla. The cinnamon is very soft, very pretty, definitely a light bakery cinnamon. And then the vanilla is creamy. It's more of a vanilla bean than it is French vanilla. I hate French vanilla. So it's a nice creamy vanilla bean mixed with just a little hint of cinnamon. It is perfection. Is it basic as all get out? Yep. But it's really well done basic fragrance. And if you are looking for an amazing blender candle for all of your other fall or holiday home fragrance, you cannot go wrong with this one. It is incredible. Again, very basic. There's nothing fancy about this fragrance, but it is delightful and definitely worth checking out. Next, Bath & Body Works Warm Vanilla Sugar. We're all familiar with this because it's been in the body care line forever. It has a lot of warmth to it. It's not an edible vanilla scent to my nose. It's definitely a little bit perfumey, but I love that warm, cozy vanilla vibe that I get from Warm Vanilla Sugar. It's incredibly well done. It's not overly sweet. Doesn't really have much in the way of like spices, I guess you could say, but it really does give you that warm, cozy vibe that I really crave around this time of year. Also, it is another fragrance that, once again, I could totally burn through the end of the year at this point. It is delightful. Usually it's not available in store. Every once in a while I see it in store, but for the most part it tends to be an online exclusive. So if you're placing an order online, if you can't find it in your local store, pop it in your cart. It is so good. I have been enjoying Warm Vanilla Sugar like since the 2010s. Like, it is so incredibly good, and it is one of those Bath & Body Works staples that I just don't think that I could ever really give up. So if you haven't tried it yet in the candle format, what are you waiting for? It's amazing. Also, the body care, it's really good too. I do have the body spray in my closet, and it makes a great base for a lot of my like vanillas. So yeah, I utilize that quite frequently. So, all right. I do have one more Homeworks suggestion here, and I actually just got done burning this, and it really was such a great transitional option. It's the Homeworks Toasted Vanilla Cupcake. Now, this is definitely a fragrance that you could burn during other times of the year as well. It's just a nice gourmand, but it does have some caramel in it, but it's not a cloying caramel. It really smells like you are sitting in front of like just a huge array of delicious vanilla cupcakes with a rich vanilla bean frosting, and then just a hint of like a caramel drizzle. It is so good, you guys. This is one that I think is definitely worth seeking out if you've never tried it. If you are sensitive to caramel, I would say you might want to stay away from it because it is The caramel is definitely noticeable, but as someone who is sensitive to that particular fragrance note, I really enjoyed that one. And honestly, I went through that candle in what seemed like record time. I was lighting that every single day for the last like week or so before I finished it, and was just enjoying the heck out of it. I don't have a backup of it, and I'm honestly kind of missing it right now. So if you have a backup in your collection, bust that out. That is a great transitional option. It's very warm, very cozy. It's definitely gonna give you some initial fall vibes and get you in the mood for the heavier gourmands that are definitely coming down the pipeline here. And then the very last suggestion is another suggestion from Scentsy, and it's just their vanilla bean buttercream. That's right, boring, plain old vanilla bean buttercream. I love this by itself, but I also love it as a blender. It's very creamy, it's perfectly sweet, it's always been a good performer for me. Vanillas can sometimes be a little tricky when it comes to giving them some real oomph, but all four of these options I think give enough of that vanilla vibe where you just really enjoy the experience with all four of these. But yeah, that vanilla bean buttercream I think is just a great staple to have on hand. And if you're just really at a loss of like, if you don't want anything spicy at all, if you don't want anything apple, if you don't want cranberry, you don't want plum, you don't want pear, you don't want coffee scents, go with vanilla bean buttercream. It's a good basic fragrance, and it's really gonna blend well with whatever else you have going, especially if you've got other gourmands. But even if you're not burning like gourmand fragrances or melting other gourmands, it's just a great one to have on hand to bring a little bit of creaminess to a fragrance. It's a great staple. So if you don't have it in your collection, I think it's one that is definitely worth having, especially for this time of year. I actually like to get that one in the brick format in my club sometimes, but you can also just get it in the regular, like, you know, smaller Scentsy format as well. So, but I think it's one that's definitely worth having. So those are my suggestions for you. Again, I am so anxious and excited to see what you guys would suggest as fall transition. So anything that is not like overly spicy, overly heavy, you know, those typical like oppressive fall fragrances that many of us love, but that maybe many of us are not quite ready to get into yet. I'm ready, but not everybody is. So anyway, I want to know your suggestions in the comments down below. Give me several. Give me 1, give me 5, give me 10. I don't care how many you give me, but give me your suggestions in the comments down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care. Toodaloo.